Have you ever noticed how some people can walk into a room and immediately pull everyone into a conversation, while others ask all the right questions and somehow leave no impression at all? It's strange, isn't it? Most of us grow up believing that being a good conversationalist means asking questions. How are you? Where are you from? What do you do? And while there's nothing wrong with these questions, they often lead to conversations that feel more like interviews than genuine human connection. An interview collects information. A conversation creates emotion. Those are two very different things. Imagine meeting someone and instead of asking, "How was your day?" they smile and say, "You look like someone who finally received some good news today." In that moment, something changes. Whether the observation is perfectly accurate is almost irrelevant. Because they didn't ask you for information. They offered you a perception, and that triggers something deeply human. Without even realizing it, most people feel the urge to respond, to explain, to agree, to laugh, or to correct the assumption. Not because they enjoy correcting others, but because every human being wants to feel seen. We spend our lives hoping that someone will notice what others overlook. Communication has never been only about exchanging words. It is about exchanging perception. The most memorable conversations are rarely the ones where someone asks the most questions. They're the ones where someone made us feel understood. This is why two conversations can contain exactly the same facts. Yet one is forgotten before the day, and while the other stays in our memory for years. Centuries before psychology became a science, philosophers were already observing this hidden side of human nature. Niccolò Machiavelli once wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Most people read this as a lesson about power or leadership, but it reveals something equally important about communication. People do not respond only to your words. They respond to the picture your words create in their minds. Every sentence quietly answers a question. Does this person truly see me? Or are they simply waiting for their turn to speak? The difference between an ordinary conversation and an unforgettable one is often not intelligence, confidence, or even charisma. It is perception. And once you understand how perception shapes every conversation, you'll begin to notice that the people who seem effortlessly charismatic are often following principles they never consciously learned. They simply understand human nature better than the rest of us. Modern psychology gives us a fascinating explanation for why this works. The human brain is constantly trying to answer one question. What does this person think about me? Every interaction becomes a search for clues. That is why simple observations often feel more engaging than predictable questions. Instead of asking someone who they are, you invite them to react to how they are being perceived. The conversation immediately becomes personal. But there is an important difference between making observations and making assumptions. The goal is not to impress people by pretending you know everything about them. The goal is to show that you are paying attention. There's a reason why skilled negotiators, therapists, and great leaders rarely rush to ask dozens of questions. Instead, they describe what they notice. You seem excited about this. It sounds like this has been frustrating. You probably thought about this for a long time. These are not guesses. They are invitations. And invitations are easier to accept than interrogations. Former FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss calls this technique labeling. By putting someone's emotions into words, you lower their defenses and encourage them to explain themselves. People feel understood before they feel persuaded. But there is another psychological principle at work. Most people enter conversations trying to appear interesting. The truly memorable ones become interested instead, not in an obvious or exaggerated way, but through genuine curiosity about the other person's experience. Ironically, the less you try to impress someone, the more interesting you often become. Dale Carnegie recognized this nearly a century ago when he observed that people are far more fascinated by themselves than by anyone else. If you can make someone enjoy talking about their own thoughts, dreams, and experiences, they will often leave believing that you are an exceptional conversationalist. Not because you talk more, but because you listen better. This also explains why confidence sounds different from approval seeking. Someone seeking approval constantly asks for permission. Someone who is confident is comfortable making observations, sharing opinions, and allowing silence to exist without rushing to fill it. They're not afraid of being wrong. If an observation misses the mark, they smile, adjust, and move on. There is no embarrassment because the goal was never to prove they could read minds. The goal was to understand another human being. Perhaps this is why some conversations stay with us for years. Not because someone said something brilliant, but because for a brief moment we felt completely seen. And in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the rarest skill of all may be making someone feel understood. So the next time you meet someone, don't focus on saying the perfect thing. Focus on seeing what everyone else misses. Notice the excitement in their voice when they mention a hobby. Notice the way they smile when they talk about their family. Notice the brief pause before they answer a difficult question. People reveal themselves long before they tell you who they are. The difference is that most of us are too busy thinking about what to say next to notice what has already been said. Real charisma isn't the ability to speak endlessly. It is the ability to make another person feel like for a few moments, they're the only person in the room. That doesn't happen because you memorized clever lines. It happens because your attention became a gift. Imagine leaving every conversation with one simple goal. Not to be admired, not to sound intelligent, not even to be liked, but to leave the other person thinking, I felt different while talking to them. Because that is what people remember. Years from now, they probably won't remember the exact words you used. They won't remember your jokes. They won't remember the questions you asked. But they will remember how they felt in your presence. Perhaps this is why the most influential people in history rarely possessed the loudest voices. They possessed the rare ability to understand people before trying to influence them. And maybe that is where true communication begins. Not with speaking, but with observing. Not with convincing, but with understanding. The irony is that when you stop trying so hard to be interesting, you become far more interesting. When you stop trying to control every conversation, people naturally become more open. And when you stop searching for the perfect response, you finally begin to listen. The greatest conversations are never performances. They're discoveries. Every person you meet carries an invisible story. A fear they rarely mention. A dream they rarely share. A struggle hidden behind an ordinary smile. The moment someone feels safe enough to reveal that story, the conversation is no longer small talk. It becomes human. Maybe that's what the greatest communicators have understood all along. People don't crave perfect words. They crave genuine understanding. Because in a world where everyone wants to be noticed, the rarest person is the one who truly notices others. And perhaps that is the secret. The most unforgettable people are not the ones who speak the most. They're the ones who make others feel the most understood. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more insights into psychology, philosophy, and the hidden patterns that shape human behavior. Leave a comment below and tell me what communication principle has changed the way you connect with people. And if there's a topic you'd like to explore in a future video, I'd love to hear your suggestions. Until next time, remember this. People may forget your words, but they rarely forget how you made them feel.